Okay, so this is the continuation of my first video. As I promised, it would be an in-depth analysis on what I wrote in my piece. Let's get straight into it. As humans on this variable plane of existence, we are part of the universal construct and the fruits of its causality. Meaning that we do not have control over all of the mistakes in the world, and creatively speaking, as I mentioned, maybe some of us were beautiful mistakes as well. We make mistakes just as naturally on our plane as it is natural for the unlimited variables to exist, just like threads in the grand tapestry of life. There are obviously things that we cannot ever even think of explaining. Sometimes things happen and we know and we have to say that they do happen for a reason or for a set of reasons. However, it's not really our job as humans to explain everything, but to experience the gift of life that's been given to us and make the most out of it. The fundamental key to learning constructively and reversing the effects of our mistakes is to identify with our inner knowing that we are primarily giving birth to actions from a noble and positive source within us towards a beneficial goal or wish to be fulfilled. Basically, if we do something, it has to be for a reason. And if that reason is a good and noble one, as I mentioned here, or a goal or a wish that actually has some value to it in the long term, even if it's a short-term goal, the basis for those decisions better be from a clean and pure natural place within us. Otherwise, things might get complicated. And then the easiest case scenario would be for the other side to actually just ignore and be the better person. Or lies might come into play, deception, and more complex and destructive elements. A mistake may put us in a favorable position that shows us and others what the right way is. A mistake can also be initially perceived as negative even to a well-wishing soul, but its effects will take on a positive connotation so long as the overarching intention was a constructive one. This can be compared to the coronavirus crisis. There's a lot of mistakes that the health system was not aware of prior to the pandemic. And so these mistakes were brought into the light and were refined, remodeled, redesigned, and re-implemented in a safer, more streamlined way. We apologize for, make up for, and grow from our mistakes. Whether it is a simple shoulder bump against an innocent bystander in public or a mishap at work that heavily delays or even halts productivity, they can all act as compasses for us to better steer clear of the next time around and to encourage us to diligently prepare for them accordingly. A small example I would give you from this Sunday's football, aka soccer match, was that we had no formal or pre-anointed referee. And so when a foul happened, the victim basically said foul. And I just repeated what the victim had said when he fell and was hurt, repeated the word foul. A third guy, which was our goalkeeper, actually repeated that in a different way. He said, no foul. So a fourth person jumped in with a very loud opinion and told our goalkeeper to shut up, basically. Whose mistake was this? Was it my mistake for repeating the second time, which triggered the third and fourth guys to respond? Or was it the organizers who should have set the referee in place before any of this ever happened. Regardless of the outcome, I myself apologized to each and every one of them and brought up the subject that, as a request of course, that we should have a referee, aka captain, or the person who's organizing, collecting all the pitch-in money, to be a referee and to overrule any sort of, just arguments between us. Making mistakes deliberately for the sake of childishly making them without gaining experience for them is like playing a scratch vinyl record that just keeps looping unpleasantly. We can also think of it as deliberately breaking the flow of intuitive betterment. This is precisely why the threshold for mistakes varies with each person standing in terms of age, stature, and responsibilities in life. See, when we're younger, as I said, looping unpleasantly, there's an annoying factor that may come from kids towards their parents, towards their colleagues, towards their teachers, which is just being repetitive and in an annoying way, which is not constructive, which is just childish. And at that age, at that level of responsibility, I think, things can be controlled, things can be talked over and fixed. But when it comes to a position of high responsibility, high expected maturity, maybe in the public eye, maybe when it comes to different, judicial areas where lives could actually depend on mistakes being avoided, then that's a completely different ballgame, and that is exactly what I meant to explain here with that paragraph. However, mistakes can also take on the form of not doing or allowing other mistakes to perpetuate. The only difference is that this may stem from a sense of complacency, which in any case also depends on one's willingness to improve and rectify any given situation. This is linked to whether a situation must be handled immediately or if whether a scenario needs time in order for a sound judgment to be reached and enforced. Going back to my Sunday example, the third and fourth guy, which I thought were actually related or good friends at that point in time, were actually quite cross at each other. And one of them actually threatened not to show up for the next match, which was quite a serious emotion coming from someone who's, been attacked verbally. Maybe not quite rudely or offensively, but just emotionally speaking. So I could not just stand there and watch this happen, so I had to elevate the matter and try to improve things. Creatively speaking, mistakes can and will most definitely give birth to unexpected ideas. One simple note out of place within a specifically composed chord can completely change the color of a tone. These types of healthy mistakes have an immensely miraculous effect that might feel as if the divine was at play with us. Divine intervention, I said. It is something which I have personally experienced time and time again while making music. It's a very welcome form of mistake. And also, this type of mistake has been made here on this video editing software which I'm using to glue together all these bits and pieces of video that I'm recording for you here on YouTube. So I'll give you the simplest one, which is just randomly picking out a fading effect or a transition effect. And then it actually turned out to look quite nice, which is not something I've ever seen here on YouTube, including the credits that roll in at the beginning and the outro at the end. I've never ever done anything like that or ever seen anyone do anything like that, so that's a very welcome mistake. So I'll end with, as I ended with the last time, don't be so hard on yourself as long as you're being true to yourself. Nice and easy, nice and simple. Keep it kind out there. I know that the world is going through tough times, as you may see it, because the world is also going through good times in some places of the world. However, we have to all elevate in order to balance out what's going on, regardless. Thank you for watching, and until the next time.